Hey officials, we had scheduled the meeting, and obviously a lot of you guys had a lot of things going on, so we ended up canceling that meeting because we only had 4 officials that were going to show up. But there are a couple things that even if you were in the first meeting before our girls season, I wanted to go over and reiterate. This video will only last maybe 5 minutes, so I really hope you'll take time to listen to it because I think it's important to know kind of how I'm looking at things. First and foremost, understand this. We are communicating with the parents, and there is an expectation that there will be no communication between parents and even our coaches who we're communicating with and the officials, other than positive communication or constructive communication. What I don't want is complaining about the officiating. So we have in our, we'll have at each site, they'll be posted out front what the expectations and the rules are of everybody involved. And one of the things talks about not having any negative conversation. And if this happens, then I want you to, the first time I want you just to very nicely say, listen, there's not supposed to be any negative communication with officials. You know, we're doing our best. And if it happens a second time, then that person needs to be asked to leave. And if they refuse to leave, then you just hold the game until they do leave. And if they don't leave after 5 minutes, you let them know this, then the game will be called and their team will be declared the loser. So I just want to make sure that you guys are protected. Now, with that said, there are some expectations to what you will bring to the table in terms of your performance. And it's not about getting calls right, although I want you to absolutely do your best. That's not really what I want you to focus on. And I have the 5 things here that I really want to focus on. And what I'll ask from you as the official. If you do these 5 things, then I'll be tickled to death with the job that you've done. First of all, be on time. Obviously, you know, the games are on Saturday, particularly if you're a young person. I know there's lots of things to do on Friday night that might make you a little fatigued on Saturday morning. You have to plan in such a way that there's no question that you will be there at least 15 minutes before tip. So if it's a 9 o'clock game, you'll be there at least at 8:45. And that's even cutting it a little close. But please be on time. And if something's going on, then please let Kevin or Tucker or Riley know immediately. And hopefully there shouldn't be anything going on because we don't have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to officials. So if we have you on the schedule, we really need you to show up. We really need you to be there. That's very important. Unless it's really an extenuating circumstance. And in that case, you need to contact them the second that you know, and we probably won't have a good answer for it, but we'll do the best we can. Second thing is you got to know the rules. All right, you should have been sent the rules. If you haven't, I'll remind those guys they're a little different. There are obviously some special rules in place to facilitate a positive recreation experience for all the kids involved. So it's not like just going and doing a Virginia High School League game. There are some different rules and some very specific things to rec. And if you don't know those rules and the parents begin to know those rules, then that really becomes a problem. You have to be able to very quickly know every single situation in terms of the rules. So make sure that you've read through those rules, and I'll have Kevin at the end of this video go over the rules in case you are unfamiliar with them. So at least you'll have that on video as well. We'll extend the video a little bit, but if you already know the rules, then you're good with that. If not, then you'll need to listen to his portion as he goes over that. Third, blow the whistle with conviction. And what I mean by that is don't just halfway blow that thing. Don't just go, just barely toot on it, and then be real timid about your call. You have to project that you believe that what you're calling is correct, even if it may not be, okay? You have to be willing to do it with conviction. So blow that whistle hard so that everybody in the building hears it and all the players know, hey, a whistle has blown. It's not like they go, did I hear a whistle? I mean, you gotta hit it short, hard, and make it loud. And then you have to be very definitive with your instruction. You know, that's a walk right here. We're gonna go blue ball out on the side, going that way. Just keep it moving. Don't show indecisiveness, okay? Even if maybe in your heart you do feel a little indecisive, do your best to exude that you feel really confident about what it is that you're calling. The fourth thing is hustle, all right? Please get up and down the floor, all right? And I have a small drawing here that kind of shows what I'm talking about. If the ball is on this end of the floor, one official would be out just inside half court, and one official would be on the baseline, All right? As the ball switches ends and goes to this end, the ref that was out top here just goes to that baseline, and the ref that was on the baseline down here now becomes the half court person. So you're only running half the court at any time. You never have to sprint the full length of the court. That should make it easy for you to be in position, and we'll have a good coverage person at the baseline. We'll have a good coverage person out top. But the key is you got to hustle on that for me, all right? Show the parents that while you may miss a call, it's not about your willingness to at least get in position to see the call, all right? And then lastly, be willing to coach, all right? This is rec. This is not AAU. This is not the absolute maximum highest point goal is to get to the winner's circle. This is about more than that. This is about helping kids develop. So if you call a walk or you call a violation, be willing to take a second to explain it to a kid. Be willing to say, hey, once you've dribbled once and pick up your dribble, you can't dribble again. Or be willing to say, you only get 2 steps, you can't take 3 or 4. You can't just take off running with the ball. You have to dribble it. You can take a moment to do that. I'm giving you the authority to, along with the coaches, try to help make these kids better, okay? The last thing I would say is you will give some leeway on violations. So walks, double dribbles, to keep the games moving, you can't call every single little thing that you see. And you'll kind of learn as you go how much you should and how much you shouldn't call. You want the game to have some flow, so you can't call every little thing, okay? But when it comes to physicality, when it comes to fouls, you've got to call that, okay? You can't let that go. If you let that go, it will escalate into a physical football game, and that's when you're going to have trouble with the parents, okay? If you call it tight from the beginning, all right, the kids will adjust to that. They'll get used to that. They'll give some space, and they'll quit fouling, and then you won't have a problem. But if they see they can get away with hacking and hitting and pushing and shoving, then they're going to keep pushing those boundaries further and further, and the more physical the game's going to become, and then that's when emotions get high, and that's when things happen that we really don't want to happen. So if you're going to give some grace, give it on a walk, give it on a double dribble, give it on something on a 3-second call. Obviously, we're probably not even calling 3 seconds, but you get the point. But don't give it when it comes to fouls. All right, let's call that tight. All right, excuse me. Give me your best effort, hustle, be on time. Do these 5 things, hustle up and down the floor, and everything will go great. I appreciate your willingness to officiate. I'm going to now have Kevin come in and quickly go over the rules, either Kevin or Tucker. Thank you.
Everyone, I'll be going over the rules for our boys basketball season starting tomorrow. All games must begin immediately on time to try to stay on schedule. We will give the teams a little bit of time to warm up, but whatever time the game is supposed to start, that's what time we'll get started. All games will be played according to the VHSL rules, unless otherwise specifically told by myself or whoever the supervisor is that's in charge. Each game will consist of 2 16-minute halves with a 2-minute halftime. First half will be running clock the entire 16 minutes. The second half will run until the final 2 minutes, which will be played like a regular basketball game. During the last 2 minutes, the clock will stop on dead balls. All fouls will result in 1 automatic point, and we will shoot 1 free throw only, unless the foul was a 3-point shot, in which this case you will get 2 automatic points and will shoot 1 free throw. Each common foul will result in an automatic point being awarded to the offended team, and then we will take the ball out on the sideline. All common fouls will be a 1-and-1 in the final 2 minutes. If a player is fouled in the act of shooting, they will be awarded 2 or 3 points and will shoot a free throw. And this free throw is only worth 1 point. In case of overtime, the first overtime will be 1 minute. The second overtime will be sudden death, which is the first team to score at least 2 points. All overtime periods will begin with a jump ball, and same rules applies as the last 2 minutes of the game. All coaches are expected to stay between the half-court line and the baseline of their bench. Reasonable dress is expected. Injured players causing a stoppage of play must exit the game until the next dead ball, unless the team is willing to take a timeout. Each team will be allotted 2 1-minute timeouts and can be taken any time during the game. An extra time will be awarded for overtime. There will be no foul outs, but encourage players not to abuse this freedom. Each foul is an automatic point. Substitutions. Substitutions will happen every 4 minutes. Officials will stop play every 12, 8, and 4 minutes, and 2 minutes of the second half. All substitutions will happen when there is a dead ball situation. Everyone must play equal playing time, with the exception of the last 2 minutes of the game. During the final 2 minutes of the game, anyone can play. An unsportsmanlike conduct technical foul will result in an automatic expulsion from the game. Player control fouls will result in a change of possession, but will not receive an automatic point. All teams are only to play man-to-man defense, no zones of any kind, no double team is allowed. If there is a zone played or there is excessive double teaming, this will result in 2-shot technical foul. No stalling is allowed by the remaining No stalling is allowed anytime. If a team is obviously running the clock by dribbling or passing outside the defensive area on purpose, possession will be awarded to the other team. Help and recover defense is allowed, but once you stop the defender, the other defensive player must get back to their man. There is no pressing allowed unless you're down by 10 points or in the last 2 minutes of the game. The team that is down by 10 points can press until they tie or take the lead. There will be no out of bounds under the basket. All inbounds plays will take place on the sideline. There is no ball screening or back screening on offense. That completes our rules for our boys basketball season.